Why is it that every single American president almost pursues the same policies to the T, especially when it comes to foreign policy? Why can no one break that pattern?
Well, Trump has broken that pattern straight up. The
No, but
phrase that
I'm
the
talking the
phrase that a
pattern
lot
of
of people
forever
need to
wars.
understand.
Sorry, the pattern of forever wars.
Oh, well, the pattern of wars. Okay.
Wars,
I
sorry,
will
not
take
forever
you
wars.
all
Wars.
back
Yeah, yeah.
to someone who was president 5 years before I was born, Dwight D. Eisenhower, former Supreme Allied Commander of all forces for the invasion and of Europe, and who defeated Germany, Italy, and the Axis powers. When he became president of the United States, he saw there was all of this pressure from defense and industrial manufacturers to buy more weapons. Do you know, at the time he was president, we had like 5 different bombers. And then we had like 6 other bombers that were in production, including some crazy ones, right? Like the XB-70 Valkyrie. Look it up. That's a crazy plane. But if they didn't like something, they would just give $1 billion contract and then develop another one. And Eisenhower saw this as a guy who literally ran all of the combat operations in Europe in World War II. He saw that it was so much pressure was coming from defense contractors. He himself gave a speech warning about the defense manufacturers in America, that they were creating pressures on Congress and the presidency to keep buying weapons and keep being in a state of war. You got to understand something, Mario. Everyone who was a defense contractor in World War II, if you made refrigerators before World War II, like Whirlpool, you were making tanks or by order of the President of the United States through the Defense Production Act, right? By order of them. If you were making spoons, you were making bayonets the next week for 5 years to arm 10 million men around the world. Those guys, if you remember the old cartoon, Little Orphan Annie's her host, the guy who adopted her, was called Daddy Warbucks. And he was a rich billionaire during the pre-World War II and then World War II era, who made billions of dollars off of war production. That's why his name is Warbucks, right? That continued on into the 50s to the point where Eisenhower was like, you've got it. The defense industrial establishment, he called it, must be broken up. Didn't happen. John F. Kennedy got assassinated. Lyndon Johnson came into power. Defense companies, many of which were from Texas, where he was from, where he was senator for a decade or more, they earned $1 trillion in the Vietnam War. $1 trillion at the low price of 56,000 dead U.S. servicemen to them. At that point, it became money lust. I mean, I am not a big fan of the Defense Department getting whatever they want. We never got a smaller budget every year until Dick Cheney took over with George W. Bush and was looking for what they called the peace dividend. George Herbert Walker Bush, what they called the peace dividend when the Cold War ended. And they were like, well, now we can go build refrigerators instead of B-1, B-2 bombers, or Star Wars like Ronald Reagan wanted to do, spend $1 trillion putting lasers into space. Well, that didn't last long. As soon as 9/11 happened, we spent $2-3 trillion to prepare to defend against 19 guys with box cutters. Right? I mean, look, TSA was formed, DHS was formed. Trump is doing the same thing. When I came into the military, the defense budget was $300 million, and it was crazy money. It's $1.5 trillion. Just last year, he took it from 900 million to 1.5 trillion. But he's stealing that money. That money's going to defense contractors. And what do they need now? A war. They just got it. Every weapon system America made, from the 1970s, the B-1 Lancer bomber, the F-15E Strike Eagle, and every weapon system in between was used in this war. We developed the BLU-52, right, deep penetrating bomb for 40 years, strictly for Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan nuclear weapons facilities. And then we were like, yeah, well, maybe we'll have a few extra for North Korea in case we get into a war with North Korea. If Ukraine has taught us anything, they only made like 50 of those damn things. They made them from cannon barrels from World War II battleships and cruisers that were left over. In a real war, you'd need 300 or 400 of those. At least that's what the defense contractors are telling you. If you're going to fight a war with China, you would, right? Because China and Iran are building everything into mountains. And the only way to get them is to drop a nuke on them. Because we hit those sites. Yeah, we blew up the cave entrances, but the Iranians have excavators, bulldozers, and dump trucks. That's the weapon that neutralizes American deep penetrating bombs. Is you can dig that shit out. In North Korea, they would have brought 30,000 workers in and dug it out in 24 hours, right? That's just the way they do business. Everything that is happening right now, if you look at the real revolutions, I have guys, I sponsor an international legion. Well, they're all foreign legionnaires in Ukraine for drone interceptors and buying drones. I buy $2,000 laptop. They get issued, 25, 30 interceptor drones, and they go shoot down drones at night. America doesn't have any of that, right? None of it. In 2022, when I was in the International Legion, we had rigged 30 millimeter U.S. grenades 40 millimeter U.S. grenades to drop from our battalion's drones. The U.S. Army doesn't even understand it. We had an exercise in Estonia where the Ukrainians bought 10 Ukrainian drone pilots and were dropping tennis balls into U.S. tanks, simulating their destruction, destroyed 17 of them in an exercise. America is spending money on shit that we don't need. If it's a war for China, then why does it take 5 to 10 years to get those? Right? We just spent 75% of our precision munitions, which should never have been fired at Iran. The JSSM, the stealth cruise missile. The fuck did you shoot that for? Why? They didn't have any radars to detect a stealth cruise missile. It's a bullet. Pete Hegseth's like, let's shoot shit, right? Let's just shoot it all. It'll be fucking cool. And at the end of this, when Iran collapses, we'll give you more contracts for that. I am not shitting you. We should not be spending money on that. If Iran has taught us anything, high explosive artillery, self-propelled artillery. If it's not self-propelled, don't send it. I was there when Ukraine got the first M777 artillery pieces, and they outranged and outgunned the Russian artillery, but they couldn't outrange the Russian rockets. So they took a lot of casualties. Ukraine was like, fuck that shit. And then when I joined the International Legion, I made a plea on MSNBC for President Trump to give the Ukrainian army the multiple rocket launch system, right? The HIMARS multiple rocket launch system. We gave them that. Boom. Russian superiority in artillery started disappearing. But Ukraine adapted and has created a whole new world of tech. And at some point in this conversation,